Three trig functions that we have done so far are sine, cosine, and tangent. So in SOHCAHTOA world, sine is what? Opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so, all right. In the unit circle world, I heard someone say it, your sine is your y. All right. Then we have studied cosine. In SOHCAHTOA world, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. In the unit circle world, it was which value? My x. All right. And then the third function we have studied is tangent, which is the TOA piece. In SOHCAHTOA, that one is, there we go, opposite over adjacent. In unit circle world, it was sine over cosine. And we can also write that as y over x. Okay? So far, those are the three functions we've dealt with. So now we're going to deal with what are called the reciprocal functions of those. Reciprocal meaning you flip it, all right? Or you put 1 over, right? If I wanted the reciprocal of 2, I would make it 1 over 2, right? Which is exactly what you're doing with fractions. 1 over the fraction, you just end up flipping it. And so now we're going to study three more functions. The cosecant function, the secant function, and the cotangent function. Cotangent is the most intuitive, meaning cotangent is the reciprocal of my tangent, okay? The other two are exactly opposite of what you would think, I promise. The cosecant function is the reciprocal of your sine, and the secant function is the reciprocal of your cosine, all right? So those are the three we're going to deal with today. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our calculator, and we are going to learn how to use reciprocals on the calculator. All right, so this one says find the cosecant of 60 degrees. All right, what is the reciprocal function? Cosecant equals what?
1 over sine.
Cosecant is 1 over sine. So my cosecant function is 1 over my sine. So I am going to say, well, the cosecant then of 60 degrees will be 1 over the sine of 60 degrees. Now, in your calculators, you'll get a decimal, or if I wanted exact, you actually should know the sine of a 60-degree angle. It is one of your unit circle first quadrant angles, okay? Sine of a 60 is square root of 3 over 2. So if I wanted cosecant, I would flip that, okay? In your calculator, you are going to say 1 divided by the sine of 60. Two things here. If you do not get 1.1547, that number that they show you there, then you need to check and make sure you are in degrees, not radians, okay? Because radians will give you a different answer, all right? If you have 60 degrees, your calculator mode needs to be in degrees. If they gave you a radian, your calculator mode needs to be in radians, okay? The next one says, suppose the cosine is 5/13. Find the secant. So they're not even dealing with the angle at all. They don't tell you what the angle is. They don't ask for the angle. They say, here is a trig function. Use these reciprocal function knowledge that you have to find the other one. All right. And so they've given me cosine. Well, if my cosine is 5/13, I know that secant is the reciprocal of that. So then I know that my secant is what? 13 over 5. All right, let's look at these together. They gave us sine. They want cosecant. All you had to do was flip it, 8/15. Find the cotangent of 55. 1 divided by the tangent here. Rounded to the nearest hundredth, but it zeroed out. So 0.70. They just left the 0 off, which is fine. All right. That is when they want it rounded. They will say round to the nearest, whatever. There are times when you will see the term find the exact value. If you see exact value, this is going to be one of your degrees or radians on your unit circle. Exact value means they're giving you something that you should know. You should know the sine and cosine. If you know the sine and cosine, you can find any other trig function, okay? And so they've given us the 60 degrees. I know my sine and cosine of 60 degrees, or I should know it, right? The sine of 60 degrees is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. The cosine of 60 degrees is going to be 1/2. Okay? So I can use that then to find any other, my tangent, my cosecant, my secant, or my cotangent. All right? Because I either know it's going to be y over x, x over y, or 1 over y, 1 over x for whatever I'm looking for. They're asking for the cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of which one? So cosecant then is the reciprocal of sine. So I'm going to say, well, then the cosecant of 60 degrees should be 1 over my sine of 60 degrees, which is the square root of 3 over 2. All right? Which means I flip 2 over the square root of 3, right? I just take the reciprocal. Now, why am I not going to leave it this way?
Because you got to rationalize it.
Yeah, we need to rationalize this. We don't want a 3 in the denominator in a radical form here, so we're going to say square root of 3, square root of 3 here. On the top, you just have 2 square root of 3. On the bottom, when you multiply radicals, you just get what is inside. So that would be the cosecant of 60 degrees. You take the sine and you just flip it upside down. Secant of 60 degrees. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine.
Yes, that was right.
Cotangent of 45. Tangent of 45 is 1, so the reciprocal of 1 is just 1. And cosecant of 30, that is the reciprocal of sine. The sine is 1/2, so when you reciprocate that, you get 2. So for B, cotangent is going to be reciprocal of tangent. So normally tangent would be sine over cosine, which means cotangent is going to be cosine over sine. For a 45-degree angle, that is square root of 2 over 2 over square root of 2 over 2. Anytime you have a number over itself, it is 1. All right, for this one, it says evaluate the expression. They actually gave us one that we know for the first one. In radians, pi over 3 is a 60-degree angle, so we actually know this. But if they ask for exact value and say the term round to the nearest whatever, then they are not asking you to use the unit circle. They're asking you to use your calculator. Exact value means unit circle. Round to the nearest thousandths, hundredths, whatever they give you, means use your calculator value. So now when you have radians, pi over something, and it's in radians, you need to make sure that your calculator is now in radians. Go to mode, change it to radians, and then once again, you're going to say 1 divided by the tangent of pi over 3. And it will open something like this. So you want to say pi divided by 3 in your calculator. That is pi over 3. And you should get, rounded to the nearest thousandths, 0.577. All right? And you will need to make sure that negative's inside those parentheses as well. You have a negative button on your calculators. So you're going to do the same thing. Secant is reciprocal of which one?
Cosine.
So let's say 1 divided by the cosine of -1. Make sure you're in radians. And you will get approximately 1.851. Here, cosecant of -1.5, you should have gotten -1.003. Secant of 2, -2.403. Cotangent of pi was undefined. A, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So for A, you would say 1 divided by the sine of -1.5. Just make sure you're in radians.